Welcome to the VLC video tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to review the VLC or VideoLAN external application. We're going to talk about taking the VLC and embed it inside a screen division. VLC is a very powerful media player application. It allows you to play different formats of video including AVI, Windows media format, QuickTime, MOV, a lot of different video formats, as well as you can play directly from a DVD. You can stream content from a VLC server. So there's many things you can do with VLC. So we're going to explore how to use VLC on both the Windows platform as well as the Linux platform, and we'll cover the different command line parameter and arguments that you can pass to the VLC application so you can interact with it and embed it inside a particular screen division. So this is the VideoLAN website. It's www.videolan.org/VLC. You can download the Windows platform here and install it under your Windows signage player. For Linux, Ubuntu will actually download it from a different location. We'll cover in a bit why we don't download it from this server. The different features are covered under the features section, and you can see just how much stuff you can really do with this application. It supports a lot of different formats, really a versatile application. It can play practically every content, every popular content, including Flash video and MP4 of course, but in addition it can play WAV files and AVIs and WMA formats that we don't natively support in the signage player. So you can explore the different formats. Also, the nice thing about VideoLAN is that it can stream content, so you can stream content from a VLC server and stream that content into multiple VLC clients, and these clients can be of course your signage player clients. So if for example you have a capture card, you can install the capture card in a VLC server and stream all the capture content to all the different signage players that are running the VLC client. As far as streaming, we'll go over here to the streaming section of the website, and you can see how powerful VideoLAN streaming solution is. You can stream any type of content, whether it's just a file or a DVD, content, capture card, satellite. All these different sources can be streamed out from the VLC server to your VLC client, and again the VLC client will get embedded into a particular screen division in the signage player. So pretty powerful stuff. VLC is open source, freely distributed, and it is really a great application. So we're first going to cover the VLC to set up on a Windows platform. So for that, let's go ahead and switch to our campaign, and we'll add a new timeline under our default campaign, our Windows XP campaign called Timeline 5. And click on Finish. And what we want to do here is we want to add the VLC to play in this green rectangular right here in this screen division. So we'll switch to Toolbox and to Components, and we have over here on the bottom the external application component, and drag that to the channel that we want. Double click on it and go to the external application tab. And VLC is already installed on our signage player. You basically want to install this on the same PC that your signage player is going to be installed on. So we already have it installed. So what we want to do is execute the C program files VideoLAN VLC.exe, or rather VLC VLC.exe. That's where this exe resides. So that's the path that we want to give and execute. Now as far as the arguments, there's many arguments that you can pass to it, many command line arguments. In fact, there's thousands of those arguments and parameters that you can pass to VLC. So like we said, it is quite a powerful application. So if you browse to the VLC link right here, you can just see how many command line arguments VLC has. As you can see, it has many things that you can do from the command line arguments. We'll just cover just a couple of arguments right now, things that we think are pretty useful. But again, you can visit this link just to review all the different options, all the different command line parameters that you can run VLC with. The first thing we'll cover is running a DVD player. So let's say you want to run a DVD player. You have a DVD that's inserted into your DVD drive, and you want to run it inside a particular screen division. Now, by default, we don't support it, but with the VLC help as an external application, you can do that. You can embed a DVD device. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, we're running the VLC EXE, and with just a couple of quick command line arguments, the minus capital I dummy quiet and then DVD simple // D : you can run the DVD player inside the screen division. Now the dummy quiet will allow you to run a VLC without any buttons or any Chrome, just in a clean Windows. So that's the type of behavior we want in digital signage. We don't want to see any buttons or any file menus. So that's what the -I dummy quiet will allow you to do. And then the DVD simple D drive will open up the D drive, which is our DVD player, and would automatically start playing it. Now you can review again the help document we showed you earlier. There's other arguments you can add, so you can automatically start with a particular chapter. If it's a DVD, you can jump into a particular chapter within the DVD. And again, many arguments that you can enable within the DVD, so you can configure it pretty much any way you like. Now if we wanted to open a particular file, so in this case, as I just demonstrated, we're opening a DVD. What if you wanted to open let's say a Windows media format that we don't natively support in our signage player? Well, that's no problem. Pretty much you want to run the same dummy quiet parameter, but this time instead of opening the DVD simple, you're going to put a path to the file that you're going to open. So in our case, it's going to open up the local file under the share directory, and it's going to open up this WMA file that's going to execute as soon as this external application loads up. Now the drawback of this is that if you're going to use this type of setup, obviously you would need to copy the file manually into your signage player, make sure that it resides in the share drive, and only once the file has been copied, then you can play it in the signage presentation. Now we've added actually a neat little macro feature that allows you to use the power of our resources with the external application. So let's go ahead and cover that. So let's say that you wanted to use VLC to play a particular resource that exists in your resource directory. So let's go ahead and change to the resources, and we have here this this tension.flv video. It's a flash video, but for whatever reason you don't want to use our default player. You want to use VLC. You want to use VLC to play this video that exists in your resources. So what you can actually do, you can switch to the toolbox and then to the resources like we just did. Then take this tension FLV file and drag it over just after the iDummy quiet, and we get this special macro. And what this macro will allow you to do is what will tell the VLC application to go ahead and open up this tension.flv from the resources, from the cache, from the local cached resources of your signage player. So this is a very powerful macro that you can really use with any application. Any application that you're going to embed as an external application, you can use the macros to automatically load up a file from the resources of the signage player, from the caching directory that exists on the signage player. Another really useful command line argument is actually this one right here, which is it's --mouse -hide--timeout and then #1. What this will do is if by coincidence the cursor of the mouse floats over this application, over the VLC application, the mouse will within 1 millisecond will disappear. So again, this is a useful because in a digital signage presentation you obviously don't want to see the mouse cursor floating around. So this is another command line argument that you can use. As you can see here, these are more command line arguments. It might look a little bit scary, so we'll cover the different parameters so you can basically see what we're talking about. You can run again the VLC as a server, meaning that let's say you have at your business 10 signage players and you want to stream DVD content to all of them. you don't have to install a DVD player in every single device, on every single signage player. What you can do is you can install a single server and run VLC as a server to stream down the content. So what we have here is on the server side, where you have a dedicated machine running as a server within your business, you will run VLC exe, which is the executable, DVD simple D, which is the DVD drive, and a few more command line arguments such as the size that you want to stream in, the type of encoding that we're going to use, such as H.264, the frames per second, and the IP address of the actual server, the address that we're going to listen to for clients to connect to. So we're going to listen to clients connecting on our primary interface, which is 192.168.1.80 on port 8080, and of course this will be replaced by the IP address of your signage server or your Windows server that you can use to serve the DVD content. And as far as the client, the Signage Studio, you'll run the VLC client, and you'll run again the dummy quiet to run in a clean window. This is the IP address that we're going to connect to. So we're going to connect to the server, and we're also going to deinterlace the streaming input, and we're going to set the ratio. So once we run this command line argument, it's going to attempt to connect to the DVD VLC server and run the content. So again, if we wanted to connect to a VLC server instead of running a local file such as the macro we just talked about, we'll go ahead and paste in this long arguments we just talked about, the dummy quiet, then the IP address that we're connecting to, including the port, and all the different parameters, including the interlace, as well as the ratio. So again, very powerful stuff. You can connect multiple signage players to a single signage server. The signage server can stream down DVD content to all your signage players. You don't have to plug in a DVD player on every single box. So now that we kind of talked about how to configure all this, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Linux platform, to the Ubuntu, and show you how to install the Ubuntu version of the VLC. On Windows, it's pretty easy. You just download the exe like we showed you and just run the executable. On Linux, it actually is a little bit more difficult, and we'll cover this in just a second. So now we'll cover installing VLC on Ubuntu Linux. Now the problem is that you cannot run the default apt-get version of VLC on Ubuntu, because by default you cannot run VLC as root. So we have to actually compile VLC from the source code so we can enable the ability to run VLC as root, which is what we require for proper playback on the signage player. So let's go ahead and go to the download section of the VLC website and scroll down to the source code over here on the bottom. Click on the source code and download this tarball file to our local hard drive. So we went ahead and finished the download. So go ahead and minimize all this and go ahead and install the VLC on Ubuntu now. So we have VLC over here on our desktop, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to expand the file that we've downloaded. So now we're expanding all the both the gzip and the tarball file. And next we are going to have to get all the dependency files, so we can use apt-get for that. And next we're going to build all the dependencies for VLC. So you want to do a sudo apt-get build dep VLC. So this will get all the libraries and check that all the libraries exist for VLC. And this is running now. Press yes and let it do the installation. Okay, so now the command completed, and just so you know, this command can take quite a long time to run, so let it finish. And next we're going to do is we're going to run this configure command, and more importantly, we're gonna want to enable the run as root, because this is really the whole reason why we're doing it this way. That's why we're compiling it from the source code, so we can add this enable run as root flag. So go ahead and run this. Actually, I did forget one thing. We do have to change directory to the VLC, and then do the configure enable run as root, just as I noted here. So go ahead and press enter, and it's going to take several minutes to compile, so just let it run and compile the complete VLC binary. So now it finished preparing the compile. The configure prepared all the libraries that we need for the compile. So let's go ahead and run the make. And again, the make is going to take a long time to run. Just let it go through and install and build all the libraries. Okay, so it went ahead and finished compiling VLC. So now we need to install. So we do the sudo make install and enter, and this will install VLC into our system now. Next, we need to get a couple more libraries. These are the libvlc and libvlc2. We need to run this command, but again, run this as sudo, press yes, and this will install these libraries as well. And now that it completed installing everything, let's try and run VLC. And VLC is prompting us. Yes, it's running just fine. Let's go ahead and try and run VLC as root. So I do a sudo s. So now I'm the root account, and go ahead and type VLC. And you can see VLC is running fine also when we are under the root account. And just to wrap up the VLC installation, there's one more thing we want to do is let's go ahead and type cd to change to the default home directory, and we want to modify the bash rc file. Go to the end of, actually just about here would be the right place, and what you want to do is you want to add a path to the libraries, so when VLC runs, it finds all the libraries that it needs. So we're going to go ahead and paste in this line right here, which is the export LD library path. So we have that available within our environment. So that's just something that sometimes in some environments VLC requires. So we went ahead and added that line as well. So we can go ahead and exit and save this bash rc file. Now we previously covered how to run a VLC on the Windows platform. Now if you wanted to run it on the Linux platform, let's type VLC. So we can see that VLC resides at the user local bin VLC. So that's where you'll want to execute VLC from the command line, the application name and command line arguments from the Signage Studio. So let's go ahead and show you how to configure that on the Signage Studio. So to configure the Linux version of the VLC, obviously we don't have the program files like we do in Windows, so it's going to be user local bin and then VLC. So this is the proper path that you want to put for the Linux environment. As far as the command line arguments, they'll be exactly the same like in Windows. These will be the same dummy quiet, don't show the mouse, the DVD, simple DVD, pretty much same arguments for the command line, but obviously the path to the executable is going to be different if you're going to run the Signage player on the Ubuntu Linux platform. So now let's go ahead and demonstrate how we can configure the DVD and actually view it in action. So in our case, we're going to actually use the Windows platform. So what we want to do is we want to put the path right here for the Windows platform, the program files, VideoLAN, VLC, VLC.exe. And for the command line arguments, again, we want to put the simple DVD because that's what we're going to be using for our sample. And for the command line arguments, we're putting the dummy quiet, DVD simple, and then the D drive, which is the DVD player drive on the Signage player. For the channels, we're going to go ahead and put them put up some resources for the rest of the channels, just so they're not blank. We'll put just static images so you can differentiate and see the video running, and just a whole bunch of static images for the rest of the channels. So now let's go ahead and demo this. I went ahead and put images for all my other channels so they're not blank, and we only have one video configured over here for my DVD. So let's go ahead and save my configuration. At this point, click on File, Save, and now we can go ahead and try this out. So now my Sonarch presentation is running. It's actually running this video here, this DVD that I have running directly off the D drive. You can see that the VLC window is nice and clean. There's no other buttons or Chrome. It's just a clean VLC window that's running. Again, this is a really powerful utility, a really powerful way to run pretty much any media you want inside your Sonarch presentation. This might look a little bit choppy because of this recording, but trust me when I tell you that this is looking very, very nice and sharp on my end. So this is a really nice way to embed a DVD or streaming content, or even to play formats that we don't necessarily support directly into your Sonarch presentation. If you have any more questions, be sure to contact us. Thank you.